Hello, this is Bridget Sproul, founder of Sproul Cannabis Collective, which is a cannabis business consulting firm located right here in Washington, D.C. What I do is help individuals and corporations interested in getting in the cannabis industry. And right now, today, in partnership with the good people at Rocket Packs, I'm going to be bringing you some tips and insights on the business side of the regulated cannabis industry. So if you're interested in that, interested in learning any more, you stay tuned. I have for you coming up what I call the pros versus cons of the cannabis industry. We're going to talk about how cannabis can be both lucrative and costly. So you stay tuned. We have some good stuff coming up next. Okay, let's hop into pro versus con number one. We're going to talk about how the cannabis industry is both lucrative and costly. And a lot of people don't quite understand about the costly side of this industry. So let me break this down for you. Let's first talk about how lucrative this industry is and has the potential to be. In 2019, revenues from the 33 regulated states in this country, cannabis sales topped $13 billion. Let's put that in perspective. $13 billion is pretty much more than NBA ticket sales. And ironically, it's also more than toothpaste sales. That means people spent more on cannabis than they did to clean their teeth. That is hilarious to me, but that's nothing compared to sales projected for 2025. They project sales will top $37 billion in the regulated cannabis industry. That means people will be spending more for cannabis than they do for craft beer and for prescription pain medication, which I actually think is a pretty good thing. We're hitting big pharma in the pockets there, but at the end of the day, that is just predictions based on the existing 33 states that currently have regulated programs. It doesn't take into account more states coming on board, nor does it take into the account that this could actually be federally regulated and legalized, and that blows those projections way out of the water. So I'm telling you that cannabis has so much potential from a financial growth perspective, it's not even funny. However, this is a costly industry, and I'll break down the different ways that it can be costly and does cost people who decide to get into this business. First of all, just to break into the business, you're going to pay a lot in application fees and in regulatory fees and in permit fees for each state that sometimes can top $100,000 just to get in the industry, just to fill out an application or a permit to be in this industry in your state. Sometimes, again, tops $100,000 or more. Then you have the regulations that you have to continue to abide by. That means compliance issues that states give you, and you have to pay your own money to make sure that you and your employees remain compliant. But the thing is, these states are learning as they go. Cannabis is still kind of new. So they can give you a regulatory compliance in September that you pay money for to remain in compliance. And then by December, give you a completely different regulation that had nothing to do with the one in September. And you still have to pay money to be in compliance, even though it's not your fault that they changed their mind. It doesn't matter. It's unfair, but it's the regulated cannabis industry. Last but not least, taxes. Oh my goodness. If you're in this industry, there's a tax code called IRS 280E that everyone in this industry is familiar with because it is a federal tax code specifically for people in the cannabis industry. It doesn't give us the same taxable rights as it does regular businesses. So say, for instance, if you were a retail store or if you operated a construction company, you would be able to write off your expenses and your operating costs and your taxes every year. Cannabis businesses cannot do that. And as a result, I have heard horror stories about how some businesses in this industry have paid more than 72 to 80% of their profits in taxes. And to some businesses, they can't sustain that. So really, a lot of people don't hear about that side of the regulated cannabis industry. It's a pretty damn big deal. But it's worth it. I promise you, it's actually worth it. And that's why to this day, a lot of people are still itching to get into the green rush because there's a lot of opportunity here. So if you're interested in learning more about the business side of the cannabis industry, I've actually created a curriculum called Cannabis Business Basics Masterclass. If you want to learn more, go visit me at my website, which is www.sproulcollective.com. And you can learn more about that class that's going to be available very soon in January. You can buy pre-sale now. But in the meantime, Rocket Packs and I are going to keep bringing you tips and insights on the regulated side of the cannabis business for anybody who's interested in actually breaking into it or has questions about it. We're going to try to bring you some information on a weekly basis, so you stay tuned for maybe the pros and cons number 2 that I bring you next week. In the meantime, you stay blessed, enjoy yourself, and we'll talk real soon. Take care.